Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And this week I'm talking with Wendy, who's been an After Sugar Club member since the After Sugar Club began, and who joined in her mid-70s because, as she says, it's never too late to live a healthier life. We'll get to Wendy's inspiring interview in just a minute. But just before, I wanted to tell you that if, like Wendy, you're committed to your journey to better health and freedom from the hold that sugar has on you, then join us in the After Sugar Club. When you sign up, you'll get all the support, the accountability, and the guidance you need to break free from the diet culture as well as from the emotional dependency that you have on sugar. Go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button, join the club to see everything that's included in the After Sugar Club and in the Premium After Sugar Club. See you there. All right, let's get to my chat with Wendy. All right, so today I'm talking with Wendy, and Wendy is in England. And can you tell us a bit, Wendy, about how you ate during your childhood? Because I think you grew up during the Second World War at that time, and also how you ended up in the After Sugar Club.
Right. Well, I was born in 1947, and I was actually born on an open cast coal mining site in the north of England. But with three small children, my parents moved down to stay with my maternal grandparents in the Midlands, who had a smallholding. I think it's about 25 acres. And they grew just about everything. We had chickens and pigs and grew our own wheat, but it went to be milled and came back again. Grew our own vegetables, and it was all for sale. So everything we grew, we either ate it or sold it. My grandfather thought lawns were the height of decadence, and he allowed my grandmother to have just a very small piece of lawn in the front garden, but the rest of the 25 acres was all growing stuff. And sugar was rationed until I think about 1952 in England. So parents and grandparents used to save their rations so the kids could have a treat sort of a couple of times a year. So we had chocolate 2 or 3 times a year. That was it.
Did you feel like you were missing out or deprived?
Not at all, because we were so excited when the new crop of peas came in, or the new crop of runner beans, or the new crop of carrots. And I tell you what, when you only have chocolate 2 or 3 times a year, it is such a treat. I mean, kids of today, as I say, they don't really know what a treat is because they just get it whenever they want it. They don't wait 6 months and anticipate it and then have it. You either eat it all at once or you take the wrapper off and nibble a tiny bit at a time. I'm afraid I always eat it all at once.
Yes, it's available on every street corner now.
Yeah, at my daughter's house, the cupboards are full of it. You open the door and it almost falls out on you. And the kids don't eat it, they get bored of it. It just sits in the cupboards.
Yeah, yes, it's like the other way around where it's just, they don't even see it anymore. Or it's, as you say, it's not a treat, it's just a daily staple.
Yeah.
So when now you're 75, is that right?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So with that kind of background of another era, as it were,
it was like another planet.
Right. Yes, something that, us youngsters, I include myself in that group, we have no no inkling of, no experience of that kind of rationing, or, you know, what you describe of a treat being every 6 months rather than every 6 minutes. So how did that shape your relationship with food?
Yeah, I had no problem. It was getting enough to eat, I think, because we had 3 meals a day at set times, because obviously the men were working out in the field. So 3 good square meals were provided, you know, good English breakfast, meat and 2 veg at lunchtime, and then usually sandwiches in the evening. And that was it. You whatever went on the table, you ate it or left it. And if you were hesitated, the person next door tended to eat it. So I remember feeling, I did remember feeling hungry, and I remember feeling cold because the houses were only heated with a coal fire. So unless you're in front of the coal fire, the rest of the house is absolutely freezing. So I remember being cold all winter, and I do remember being hungry between meals. And we always had puddings. We always, at lunchtime, where we had our main meal, we always had a sweet pudding. And I think that probably spiked my insulin. That's probably what made me feel hungry all the time. Because even then, it was money. I mean, rationing came off when I was 5, so my memories are probably more from after that. So we obviously had more sugar with them. So my relationship with food, yeah. And we were outdoors all the time. So we had a tremendous appetite. And we were either working in the fields. I mean, at 7, I had my full load of jobs to do, you know, animals to feed, clean out. We either walked or biked to school out in the fresh air. So we did work up big appetites. So we
Yeah,
could eat anything and stay slim.
yeah,
One
yeah.
thing
Do you
we were,
remember at school seeing anyone who was overweight?
there was one kid who was overweight. Yeah, he was a farmer's son. He was very very protected by his mum, and he wasn't sort of allowed out to do all the jobs and things. But he was the only one.
Hmm. When you had your kids, when did you have your kids? In the 70s?
Yeah, I just had one daughter, 74. She was born.
Okay. And so how did you feed your daughter?
Well, I breastfed her obviously for a start, and then we actually moved to Germany when she was 6 months old, and we lived in Germany and Holland then for the next 10 years. But yeah, we picked up quite a bit of the German and Dutch way of cooking, which, I mean, it's main European, so it's not all that much different to the UK. But it was still the same thing. We had a good breakfast, meat and 2 veg at lunchtime, sandwiches for tea, you know. So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And wherever I went, I tried to grow vegetables, my own veg.
Yeah, you're very good with gardening, aren't you? It's your thing.
Yeah, still do. Yeah, still got my veg pot.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. And do you remember when these big supermarkets started, you know, because you didn't used to have that in the 70s so
No,
much.
the first ones I encountered were in Germany because we didn't have, that was 75 we moved to Germany. And there were no supermarkets in the UK. But the strange thing was with my daughter, I'd put everything on the table. She could choose whatever she wanted to eat. You know, I put the lunch in dishes, you know, that be the potatoes and the vegetables and anything. And there's no pressure. I didn't tell her what to eat and what not. And she grew up eating absolutely everything, no food hang-ups whatsoever. And nobody said, eat your dinner, it's good for you, or you got to eat your dinner before you have your pudding. And I never said anything like that to her. Then she's grown up absolutely no food hang-ups whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first supermarkets were in Germany.
Okay. Yeah. And so you didn't use food as some sort of reward or threat or something like that?
No, I've always enjoyed cooking. Really loved, and I love setting the table. You know what I'm like. I like the matching cutlery and crockery and setting the table properly with the flour on. So it's always something I've really enjoyed doing.
And have you noticed that that has influenced your daughter with her kids?
No, no, she's so different.
She's different. So can you tell us a bit about how different that difference in the generations?
Yeah, well, she says, "What do you want?" She says mainly, "What do you want to eat?" And if it's chicken nuggets and chips every day, that's what they have. And she likes them to get their own meals as much as possible. So she fills the freezer and the fridge, and they just get whatever they want. And yeah, it's baked beans on toast, fish fingers, and chicken nuggets and chips mainly.
Yeah, which seems to be
When
pretty typical.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How does that make you feel as the mother and the grandmother?
Um, well, I try not to think about it too much. Because one of the things that the kids love pizza, and they'll get a takeaway pizza, or sometimes they'll make their own. But when they have a pizza, they'll have a whole pizza each. And I mean, I didn't discover pizzas until I was sort of in my 30s, 40s. I think that's when they were first widely available in the UK. But I'd buy one pizza, and then I'd do salads and vegetables, and maybe some chips or fries, garlic bread and things. So people would just have a couple of slices of pizza to go with the meal, rather than sit down with the whole box on your knee and eat the whole pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
Very different.
It's a different approach to that kind of food.
Got a lot more money than I had. You know, I had to budget for everything, where she doesn't. She can virtually buy whatever she wants to.
Well, you know, the argument that I hear often is that real whole foods, the ones that you grew and ate, and are much more expensive. It's too expensive to eat real whole foods, and that processed foods are less expensive. But what I'm hearing from you is that even if you don't, like, if you grow them yourself, you can definitely save money, but not everyone is in that position. But what I'm hearing from you is that the processed foods that your daughter serves her children, or that they serve themselves, are actually more expensive. Is that right?
Way more expensive. They're more convenient. You know, you just fill the freezer with them and get them out when you want. But I mean, I didn't have a freezer or a fridge. You know, when I think I had a fridge when my daughter was little. But I mean, we learned to use food without fridges or freezers. So you planned all the time. You know, you'd know what you were going to use tomorrow and the next day. You'd plan the week for the meals, and so one chicken would do at least 3 meals, even with a family of 7. So there's a lot of planning, a lot more use of vegetables. Yeah, much. Only a fraction of the cost.
And for you, did you work? Were you a working mother?
On and off. When I was in Germany, well, I worked for a short time as an art teacher, and I did a bit of freelance work. So I was a shoe designer for a time, so I did a bit of freelance work when we first moved out there. But when we got back to the UK when she was 10, I started working after that.
So it's not like you were a housewife and that your sort of main activity was to prep the meals. You were also working and prepping meals.
Yeah, the planning and the prepping is even more important, I think, when you're working.
Yeah.
Got a bit cheapskate, you know. Particularly, I mean, at one point I was earning my living as a gardener, you know, a mobile gardener. And I tell you what, when you're working for a set hourly rate, say you're working for $5 an hour, weeding gardens, heavy manual work, you really make that £5 or $5 go a long way. You know, you really respect it. You don't throw it away on junk food.
Yeah, that makes sense. Would you say that now, as you sort of see how the vast majority of people eat, including, you know, your grandchildren, would you say that priorities have changed in society from the real whole foods that you used to eat to these packaged foods?
Yeah, absolutely. It's convenience, isn't it?
And for your own diet, have you found that your own way of eating has changed over the years as well?
Oh, massively, massively. Yeah, because I had a health crash when I was in my 50s, and I've only, you know, I I couldn't walk. I was crippled with arthritis and a twisted spine. And so I was just got written off by the doctor and said, get ready for a wheelchair. So I just researched as much. The internet had just started. And I just researched whatever I could. And the first thing I cut out was wheat. And within a couple of days, I could get out of bed, which I thought, wow, I'm onto something. So since then, so for the next, 25 years, I've been tweaking it.
Yeah, yes. And it's like, for some people, they have no issue with wheat and they can carry on. For you,
Absolutely.
it caused huge inflammation.
Yeah.
And so did or do animal-based products. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I went for a time. I went raw food vegan, which is horrendously difficult in the UK. You can do it for about 3 weeks in the summer, but and I did the green juicing, which all had its place. I think green juice can get your health back very, very fast, but it wasn't something that suited me long term.
Okay.
And I found I was doing far too high in fruits as far, because I was juicing mangoes and pineapples, doing with spinach and kale, and the balance. I mean, as I say, it got me to where I wanted to go very fast, but once I got there, I had to stop it. I had to change again.
And where did you want to go?
I just wanted to get back to gardening again, driving my own car. And I mean, I was in bed, I think, for 10 days, absolutely paralyzed, not able to move. And I tell you what, it concentrates your thoughts a bit and sorts your priorities out. I just wanted to be mobile again. It's when I learned to do visualization. You have to see what you want, and so specific. And I envisaged running down the beach where the warm water just hits the sand. I wanted to feel my feet running down that beach. You have to visualize this intensely, don't you? Feel the sun on the skin, smell the ozone, feel the wind, make it so real as if I was already doing it. And then add the gratitude. I'm so grateful that I'm running down this beach. And when I was lying there, I made it so clear, so strong. And it took me 5 years, but I did it.
Amazing. Yes, amazing that you stuck it out for 5 years. Yes, I mean, for me, I would have given up, thinking, well, it hasn't happened for 5 days,
Yeah, but what's the alternative? Lying on my back in bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, those increments. I mean, I think it took 2 years. I think the first, because my friends used to take me on the holiday, and the first year they gave me a fireman's lift over the dunes so I could get to the sand. Then I think the second year I made it myself, and then the third year I could walk, and the fourth year I could walk, but then the fifth year I actually ran.
Yeah.
So it's stressful all the time.
Yeah, amazing. And did you ever find out what caused that high level of inflammation?
Well, there are lots of things, but I mean, it might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's just trapped negative thoughts. You've just got to get rid of those. The resentments and the feelings of being unworthy, and it's all in the mind, as they say. You've just got to just completely change your attitude. And I did a lot of mirror work. I looked in the mirror and said, I love you. And I did it with my body as well. I told my body that I loved it, and I was so appreciative of it. I think I used to watch videos by Bruce Lipton. Don't know whether you've heard of him.
No, I haven't.
Bruce Lipton, yeah, his Biology of Belief is the book, and he's been at the forefront of epigenetics.
Yeah.
Heard of epigenetics?
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. And what did he say? I wrote it down so I remember. Yeah, when he thinks about his body, and he said, without my body, how could I feel a kiss, give a hug, or taste chocolate? And so I build up this appreciation of my body and everything. Because I mean, we're talking before about the horses. I used to do 3-day eventing with competition horses, and you have to fine tune their fitness and performance to get the very best out of them in very best chance, and to keep them fit and healthy, because you can push them, you can force them, but then you get injuries and then you go backwards. So you need this peak performance, and it's such a balance between the exercise and the diet, the nutrition, the rest periods, the turnout. So I try to treat my body in the same way. I knew what all the essential nutrients were. I knew the exercise I needed. And then I put all the gratitude and the mindset work all together. So it's not just one thing. It was a huge, and because I was lying on the back, what else could I do?
Yeah. And so, yes. And so it's like you had to treat your own body as well as the horses.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I first started learning to ride, it was with cavalry officers, and they'd actually seen active service in the First World War. They'd done trench warfare with horses. Can you imagine it?
Amazing.
But the way they treated their horses and taught us, the horse came absolutely first. You could be covered in mud, freezing cold, you could be injured, you could be hungry, but until you saw to your horse first, the horse had to be fed, watered, rugged up, had to be put comfortable for the night, then you sorted to yourself. So I thought, well, if I could treat my body with that sort of love and respect and compassion, put that much effort in.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast, and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it, so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. And we were talking before about measurable results, where you like to see, not just yourself, but I give you as an example, like to see measurable results that you can tell, how the horses are doing, or the humans, depending.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sort of translate that into the number on a scale, or the number of calories, or grams of this, grams of that. But what I'm hearing is that a large portion of what made you feel better is not necessarily measurable or quantifiable. It's the attitude and your mindset. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, it was how far could I walk? Yeah, more things like that. And how it was with the food as well. I'd watch the information, because being an ex-gardener, I get, they should call it gardener's knee, shouldn't they? But they call it housemaid's knee. So I get housemaid's knee, I get tendonitis in the wrist, I get tennis elbows, I get policeman's heel, all these sort of things. And this is one of the ways I measure the food, because I've been eating, as I was telling you, I've been eating eggs again, so I've got housemaid's knee. Whereas if I cut out all animal protein, the inflammation goes right down. So that was one of my measurements, because I used to eat anything, absolutely everything. But after the health crash, when I went raw vegan to try and exclude everything, and then brought things back in. And I realised that animal protein was one of the things that gave me measurable inflammation.
Yeah. And it's funny because, you're in the After Sugar Club, and we often sort of give each other's examples as how we can be on the opposite ends of the sort of vegan. And I'm not even carnivore, but, it's like how we can eat so differently and react so differently to the food that we eat. Because I don't digest vegetables that well, and you eat mountains of vegetables. And we often joke about it, right, in the After Sugar Club, that it doesn't really matter what one person eats or the other. What we have in common is we're eating to feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, my constant tweaking is what brought me to the After Sugar Club, because I'd sort of plateaued out again. And I got really fit. I can run, garden, but there was always, I always knew I could do it that little bit better. And I'd ended up on a very high fructose diet. And following you and seeing what you were talking about, cutting sugar, I thought it made so much sense. Because I mean, I wasn't eating cakes and sweets and things like that, but I realised a lot of my diet was quite high in sugars. Because as you know, one of my meals used to be bananas and crisps.
Bananas and crisps, and that is 100% vegan. Exactly. It's like, but doesn't mean that it's 100% healthy for you.
No. And I knew to get any further, I needed help and advice, really. And the community, because our little community is lovely, isn't it? We're always there for each other, aren't we? And as you say, we're all huge range on the spectrum, aren't we, between vegan and carnivore? But we're all using, different things to reduce the sugar.
Yes, we've got that in common, and nobody judges anyone for being, not doing it right. And also, what's different in our group is that some people, or many people, even if they're not in the After Sugar Club, are looking to lose weight. And for you, the issue is being underweight.
Yeah. I wrote it down. I started off at just over 11 stone, which translates into, do you like pounds or kilos?
Pounds and kilos, if you can.
Pounds, 161 pounds or 73 kilo is 11 stone. So that was quite heavy for me. And that's what, when I was out gardening, running my own business, that's what I was at. My ideal weight, what I feel most comfy at, is about just over 9 stone, which is 58 kilos, 126 pounds.
126 pounds, got you. And that's your ideal weight, meaning that's when you feel comfy?
Yeah, and at the moment, I'm 110 pounds or 50 kilos. So I'm a bit under. And I'm starting to look a bit scraggy as well.
How tall are you?
Well, I was 5'5", but I might have shrunk a bit.
And so why do you think that it went down so much, your weight?
Well, I moved house, and I found that I was eating a lot of convenience food. I wasn't eating my normal way, and I would just, whatever was available, I would eat it. And I started to feel so terrible, and my energy levels dropped. So I found that if I wanted to keep going, I didn't eat. I just, rather than eat something that wasn't going to agree with me, I didn't eat at all. And I didn't feel hungry. I felt fit, loads of energy, but I did lose quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
I have a bit since then.
And that wasn't your goal. The goal was not to lose weight.
No, absolutely not. It's always been fitness.
Yeah.
But yeah, the weight is, I mean, from my heaviest, it's always been to get my health sorted out. It's never been to really lose weight.
Yeah. And now the goal is to try and get some weight on.
Yeah. I've increased.
You've increased the fats that you're eating, right?
Yeah.
Smashing. And that helps keep you fuller, gives you energy.
Yeah. And I'm getting a bit of an expert on olive oil. So I only buy the very best olive oil that I can find.
Smashing. Yeah. Smashing, you deserve it. You deserve the best olive oil out there.
Yeah, well, I tell my body that it does. Yeah, I do a lot of gratitude work as well.
Yeah.
I still use a mirror, and I still tell my body how much I appreciate it. And I think I go over all the wonderful things that me and my body have done together over the years, you know, like Bruce Lipton was saying, feeling a kiss and giving a hug. And I think all the years I spent playing with the grandchildren, all the wonderful things that I've been able to do, you know, riding the horses and doing the gardens. And I mean, some of the gardens are now years. There's one just down the road that I did 12 years ago, and it's beautiful. I still go and help the lady.
Wonderful.
And I was there this morning, just potting around, doing a bit of watering.
I mean, a lot of people listening to this podcast might think that at 75, it would be normal for you to have lower energy and health issues and all the rest of it. How do you feel at 75?
Fantastic. Look forward to it, you know. There might be, you know, a few glitches on the way, but it's incredible. You know, you can be really fit.
You know, sometimes we think, well, it's inevitable as we get older to lose our vitality and our health,
Yeah.
but you're living proof that it's not inevitable at all.
And I've got no weight around the middle. I've got no visceral fat. And I just, and I guess up in the morning, look forward to the day. I think exercise, though, is tremendous. You know, even if you're not fit and you don't feel like exercising, whatever you can do, and walking is fantastic. You know, walking in the fresh air. I don't go to the gym and I don't do exercise routines. I think perhaps I should do more stretching, but then when I'm in the garden or doing the housework, I think, oh, I could just do a little bit more of a stretch to do that, you know, or if I clean the floor, I thought, oh, if I use the short pole on the hoover or just the brush on the end of the hose, I could really get some stretches in doing that.
That is a great gym equipment, the hoover.
Oh, yeah,
Vacuum.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you give us an example of what you eat in a typical day?
Oh, yeah. Because I do the intermittent fasting, so I don't eat ideally till about 12. So today I didn't eat till 12. And I had already prepared in the fridge enough for 2 or 3 days of a curry. It was squash, sweet potatoes, celery. I didn't have time to put leeks in. I used to put leek in, but I only picked them up last night. Tin tomatoes, curry paste, cream coconut. So it's usually based on squash, but whatever root vegetables I like. It's usually carrot and sweet potato. And I cooked them together in butter and olive oil first, and then put the curry spices in, then the tomatoes and the cream coconut. And that was it, and there's a pan full of that. And I had a banana for afters, because I do like my afters. And then I'll eat celery with nut butter down. Peanut butter doesn't agree with me. I have almond butter.
Okay.
Which I buy when it's on off. I got a huge tub the other day that was £19, but I got it for £9.
Yeah.
So the bargains. Oh, so there was chickpeas in the curry as well, because that's a protein for the chickpeas. And I ate cauliflower, cabbage, kiwi fruit I had today. I put kiwi fruit to go. Yeah, I made a little salad to go with the curry. It was homegrown parsley and watercress, chives, marjoram, basil, Thai basil, and I chopped that up with it, and I grated the peel of a lemon to go on the little salad, and put some olive oil and salt on it. That was my lunch.
Smashing.
Yeah.
And do you eat once a day or twice a day?
Twice a day, yeah. The evening meal's always a bit mixed. I mean, I might even have a bit more curry. Oh, and instead of rice, I had grated parsnip and carrot, because grated parsnip looks just like rice. So, and I love grated parsnip. And I put salt and pepper and olive oil on that.
Yeah. And you were, I remember in one of our After Sugar Club check-in calls, you said, at one point you took your grandchildren down to the seaside and you had a 99, or which for Americans is a soft whip ice cream. I'm just translating with a stick of chocolate in it. And is that right? And there were the donuts as well that were there that tempted you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's not like you eat absolutely zero sugar ever, which
Oh no,
no.
no.
But,
If someone out for a meal, I mean, if they present, if they spent time and energy preparing and cooking for me, I'll eat anything that they put on the table. I never touch alcohol. That's not negotiable because it makes me very ill. But just about anything else, I say a prayer over it and say how grateful I am for it and for them providing it. But I couldn't do that regularly. I mean, I don't get invited out all that often. But every few months, that is fine.
yeah.
Like I take it to Southend every now and again. I can have a donut, but I did it 2 weeks running. I went 2 weekends, had donuts 2 weekends, and I really felt it.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
I did time.
And we talk about this in our check-in calls, that you're more of a moderator, I'm more of an abstainer, and not because of any sort of moral beliefs, but just because that's how we are naturally.
Yeah.
But you found out that you're slightly less of a moderator than you thought.
I can get triggered. Yeah.
So it's like you can moderate 1 or 2 donuts, but then you have to abstain.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, the second ones didn't all taste all that good, and they made me so ill. Yeah. But I mean, if I go back again in a few months' time, I shall have a donut again.
Yeah.
But just one and not the next weekend.
Right. And you can have 1 or 2, whereas
Yeah.
myself, I can't. It's like it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. I went to stay in my friend's house in the summer. I was looking after the house for her, and a couple of other friends came around and had tea, and they said, "Oh, do you think Colin's got any biscuits?" And I said, "Well, I'll look in her cupboards, And I went through because she's that sort of friend, you'd be quite happy. And I found what was butternut crunches or something. Oh, something absolutely wonderful. So we opened this packet, and the friends had a couple. And then this packet of biscuit I put back in the cupboard, and it was absolutely calling to me. So I ate it. I ate the whole packet, and just before I left, I replaced it. But that really triggered me. I couldn't leave it alone till the packet had gone.
Yeah, you're very good at finding what triggers you and, expressing it. And we've talked about the trigger foods that we all have, which are completely varied for different people.
Random. Yeah. I told you about the sardine sandwiches, didn't I?
Yeah.
I mean, as kids, we used to take sardine sandwiches to the beach, and I thought, oh, one day we'll go out, and I'll just sort of, because I don't normally eat bread at all. I thought a sardine sandwich would be wonderful, and it absolutely sent me into a tailspin. I mean, what it was, but I was craving anything sugary, anything. I was craving it. I had to eat whatever there was sugary in the house just after this. And it took me a good 24 hours. I had to sleep, and then the next day I was okay.
It's funny, isn't it? What triggers us, we wouldn't imagine. But I mean, what I found is that for yourself and for other Sugar Club members is that they become more aware of their triggers and become more aware of what they need to do to sort of get back to normal. And our whole definition of normal changes after a while.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question to finish up. Do you have any advice for us youngsters about, getting to a place where you feel energetic, vital, and look forward to living a long and healthy life?
Yeah. I mean, my key has always been gratitude. It's the deep practice of really profound gratitude. Just look what you have got. I mean, most of us have got, a roof over our head. We've got connection to the internet. We've got a life that no other generation has been able to live. I mean, this is a first world problem, isn't it? Having too much we have too much of everything, and just being profoundly grateful for everything. Just slow down and think about what you have got and be profoundly grateful for it, and be profoundly grateful for your body and appreciate it. Treat it like it's your very best friend. Learn what's going to look after it, do the exercises, find out the foods that suit you, and give yourself time, prepare beautiful food for yourself and give thanks for it before you eat it. Because if you think, food flies in from all over the world, doesn't it? The amount of people, the amount of effort that's gone into putting that food in front of you. The house, you've got the electricity or the services that come into your house. We are so blessed, aren't we? And I think just learning to appreciate that goes a long way.
Yeah, beautiful, fantastic. Oh, thank you, Wendy, so much. Wonderful.
You're welcome. Lovely to chat with you.
Lovely. What a lovely, inspiring chat with Wendy. And it just goes to show that it's never too late to look after your health and to make small tweaks so that you can live your life after sugar with more energy, more vitality, and so that you can love your food and love your life. And one way you can get there is by joining the After Sugar Club, just like Wendy, and being part of our lovely, friendly, encouraging community, as well as our twice monthly check-in calls live on Zoom. To join us, just go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button to join the club. And I also wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources about how to cut sugar, then I have plenty for you. Come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration, pictures of meals, short reels, and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration, pictures of meals, short reels, useful info to get you started on your life after sugar, as well as thought-provoking quotes and even sometimes pictures of our cat, so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at netta_lifeaftersugar. And if cravings are getting in the way and causing you to fall off the wagon, then I have 5 tips for you, especially if you're an intermittent faster, to help you get rid of cravings. Go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. You can also find my simple guide for getting more energy with less sugar by going to aftersugarclub.com, scrolling down to the bottom and clicking on Simple Guide. And while you're there at aftersugarclub.com, you can also have a look at the videos I've made for you to show you what to eat that doesn't contain added sugars, where to find real whole foods at the grocery store, and also how to look after your gut health with fermented foods and drinks. So you'll find those free resources at aftersugarclub.com. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.